As I'm sure you probably know, being a music producer is not the most financially stable job in the world. I've been doing this 20 years, and there's times where I am making lots of money, years that are great, and then there's years where that just plummets, or months where that plummets. And sometimes it's not because you're getting work, but because we take on projects like albums that can take a really long time. And it might be in advance or no advance at all, and we just have to kind of figure it out during that time, hoping for a lot of success from the music we're working on. And because of this, a lot of us have to get side hustles or side jobs. And I've gone through so many different ones, and I found the perfect one for me that what I'm hoping is I can inspire some of you guys to try out. Because when I talk about this with people, a lot of people say they have always wanted to try it, but it's not something that I have any friends, at least, that are doing themselves. So I want to start by talking about side hustles that don't work, I think. And the first one I did was ghost production. I came from the electronic music space, and I spent a lot of time there. And when I stopped doing it, the first kind of side hustle I got was producers looking for me to ghost produce for them. And on paper, it looked great. The pay was reasonable, and I got to do what I loved. But what I ended up realizing was that working on other people's music with the sound that they wanted took away from me creatively working on what I wanted to do. So if I spent 10 hours in the studio making someone else's song, I just started finding myself working on my own music less. And the point of it being a side hustle was that I wanted something that inspired me to have my own time to work on whatever project I was on. So ghost production was not for me. I'm not saying it's not a good gig. I have a lot of buddies who do this full time and it's worked out for them, but it's also not the most consistent pay. Now, that leads me to part-time jobs or even like contract work like Doordash, Uber Eats, or just working at a cafe. Now, I never worked at a cafe or anything, but I have done Uber Eats and Doordash in months where I just needed to be able to pay the bills, and it wasn't happening from my music. But it's definitely not something that's going to pay for all your bills, and at least for me, the burnout was high on it. If I was out driving for 3 hours a day, I didn't want to make music when I got back. The whole time I was driving, I was like, I can't wait to get back to the studio. But what ended up happening in reality was I would get home hungry as hell, and I would order some food or make some food, but probably order because I was tired, and I would sit on the couch and watch TV. So that did not become something sustainable for me at all. I had a conversation with my girlfriend one night, and we both were kind of just having a fantasy of being Pixar characters. I think we just watched a Pixar movie, and we were talking about how voice acting would be such a fun job. And I woke up the next morning, and for whatever reason, I decided that it was something that I could really pursue. Now, I've never taken an acting class in my life, never did drama. I think the last time I was in a play, I was in kindergarten. And for whatever reason, I convinced myself that it was something that I could do just because it was exciting. So that's my first word of advice. Beyond just the fact that I'm going to now get into voice acting and why I think it's the perfect side hustle for music producers and engineers. But the first thing I'll say before that is, if this is too woo-woo for you, whatever, but I really, really, truly believe this. If you have a thought come in that feels good, even if it feels impossible or completely different from what you thought, that good feeling thought, if you pursue it instead of just being like, well, that was that thought, let me talk myself out of it. If you just go for that good feeling thought, a lot of the times things work out. Now, we could get into the law of attraction. I personally think that works, but I'm not going to go there in this video. But that being said, listen to your inner guidance because it's got your back a lot of the time. But specifically for voice acting, what I did, and it's now become a side hustle that at least this last year, I've been doing it for 1 year only, has made me more money than music this year. And I'm working maybe 30 minutes to an hour and a half a day on it. So it's really allowed me to spend most of my time still making music, but it's completely alleviated any financial stress that I have on the outside. So what I did that day that I decided to voice act was I came to my studio, sat down, went to ChatGPT, and had it create a bunch of different scripts for me. And I just decided to pretend I was a commercial voice actor and pretend like I was a wizard and pretend like I was a Southern farmer. I just tried all these different voices, reading different kinds of scripts, and I created a reel or a resume of different types of sounds that I did. Now, this is where I made my first mistake doing it. So if this is something you want to pursue, this is something that I would stay away from. What I did was I took that reel and I found all the biggest agents in LA and New York around the country. And I sent them my reel saying, I have a gorgeous studio with amazing microphones, and I really think that I'm a talent that you should represent. And I sent my reel to these people. So before having done any real work, I kind of just took a step that I would not recommend doing because I got no response, as I shouldn't have. I didn't know what I was doing, but I was excited about it, but maybe a little too excited. So after getting no response, the next day, I thought, okay, so that didn't work, but I still didn't want to give up on it because the feeling just felt so good. I was like, I have this studio that I'm in all the time. Being a voice actor makes sense for me. I know that I can do this. So I decided to look at Fiverr. Now, I want to talk about Fiverr for a second. I hated Fiverr for years. I signed up in 2019 for mixing and mastering and producing, and I got no hits. I put up my profile with what I thought were some great works that I'd done. I listed my resume, which included working with artists like Zed, Moby, Ellie Goulding. No hits. I kind of forgot about Fiverr. But what I decided to do was I just searched voice actors on Fiverr, and what I saw were these people that had 9, 10 orders in their queue, and I could hear that I had better audio quality than them. And I knew that I could outdo what they were doing. They sounded robotic. They sounded like AI. I knew if I just brought a little life to the project, that I could kind of come in and take over this market a little bit. And what I mean by market is I'm not talking about getting a McDonald's spot right away or Jollibee. What I'm talking about is the lower echelon of voice actors offering services at their price, but with the knowledge that I have of being a music producer and engineer. And this is why I think it's something that more of us should be doing, because we know our way around a microphone. We know how to make things sound good. And a lot of the times people are looking for that. They want pristine audio quality that's going to make their product sound expensive. Now, obviously, I'm not saying audio quality is everything. Being a voice actor, a good voice actor, requires being able to read something and make it sound like you believe it and you can sell it, being able to do different character voices. There's a whole list of things that are important there. But for getting into this, to be able to provide something that sounds amazing from the get-go and offering it for a pretty cheap price, you're going to get orders. And getting orders is going to get you experience. So what I learned from Fiverr is that this is a way that I could basically get paid to learn a new trade. And it worked out. After making a Fiverr profile, I just threw up those demos I made. I got my first order within 2 weeks, and it was for a YouTube channel. When you're dealing with the cheaper pricing on Fiverr, most of the people that are ordering are YouTube channels, faceless YouTube channels. So these are people that own YouTube channels where they hire a script guy, they hire a video guy, they hire a voice actor, they put together the video. I'm talking like top 10 celebrity moments. You've seen these kind of spammy videos, not stuff I really like to see on YouTube, but it's where I started. So I started getting orders, and from the get-go, my first order, I made $50 for something that took me about an hour and a half. So it was not great pay by any means, but it was more pay than Uber Eats, and it was getting paid to do something completely brand new. So that was just exciting to me. So I really focused on that, and I started getting more and more YouTube channels coming in. I still voice a YouTube channel that we're about to hit 400,000 subscribers and got almost, I think, 300 million views this last year. So it became something where I started to kind of really feel confident that I could do the YouTube voice thing. But again, I want to reiterate, I'm not doing this to become a full-time voice actor. My passion is in music, it's in mixing, it's in mastering. That's what I love doing. This was something that I wanted to be a way to make money to continue doing what I love doing. So what I did was I listed myself on the cheaper end, got a lot of these YouTube clients, and after getting 100 orders in and 100 reviews, I raised my price by 4 times. And what this did was it completely weeded out all of the YouTube channels. I only do 2 YouTube channels now because they're successful channels and it makes sense for both of us. But by raising my price, what this did was everyone that was coming to me now was looking for commercial work, no longer YouTube. And the difference between commercial work and YouTube, and by commercial work, I mean Joe Schmo's local lumber company in Missouri is hitting me up to do their radio ad. But there's a few reasons why this was crucial towards making a good living doing this. It's because these scripts were generally 15 to 30 seconds long. So YouTube scripts a lot of times were 8 to 15 minutes long, which meant that I was spending over an hour working on one YouTube video. But getting an order for an advertisement, you're talking about something that takes less than a minute to record. Oftentimes, if someone orders a commercial that's 15 seconds, I'll provide 4 options for them. So yeah, it'll take a minute of my time to make it. But it's a very, very small amount of time. And you also get to charge broadcast and commercial rights. So my pricing is $10 for 100 words. So these ads might only be $10, but then I charge $75 for broadcast rights plus $25 for commercial rights. And this means that a 15-second ad now is something that I can charge about $110 for. So you're talking about $110 per minute of work, or 15 seconds of work if you want to just do one take. And all of a sudden, it kind of just opened my eyes up. I was like, okay, I just need to get a few of these a day and I'm good. Like I can just work on music. I can finish this album. I can work with this artist who can't pay me right now, but I truly believe in. It gave me that freedom. And throughout the year, I'm at a point now where I'm getting about 3 to 5 orders a day generally, and most of them are paying between $50 to $400. Sometimes a lot more. I've had orders that are for $2,000. It's a perfect job for me, and I think a perfect job for so many producers out there, just because it keeps us in the studio, which is really important, I think. Being able to be here, get the voice acting done, and then immediately open up whatever project I'm working on for music and hop in, it keeps me in that element. It takes up no time out of my day. The most I'll work on it is an hour and a half in a day. So yeah, I don't want to ramble too much about it, but I wanted to just hopefully inspire some people to try something new, not music related, but that's going to keep you in the studio, because it is possible to make a living outside of music, staying in your studio and not needing to stress anymore about your bills and just keep you creating.